Charlotte. You're watching The Ugly Atheist, and in this episode, we are going to finish up the last three questions from an article on the Christian Post called Seven Honest Questions for Atheists. And last weekend, I answered the first four, I think. And I sort of concluded that the only time a Christian would ask atheists anything is not when they're being honest for just information, but there's always an agenda involved. And this is definitely the case with this guy. He has an agenda for asking these super specific questions. And if you watch last week's video, you'll have seen my answers to those. And he's asking just atheists in general. So I know every atheist is different and will probably answer these questions differently. But I just answering his supposedly honest questions as honestly as I can. So we are now on we left off on question 5. Okay. So we'll get right into it. Have you had any experiences in life that caused you to question your atheism? Has something happened to you that seemed genuinely supernatural or otherworldly? Or have you been confronted with some information that shook your atheistic foundations, such as a scientific argument for intelligent design? If so, how have you dealt with such doubts to your atheism? So in this question, he reveals that he seems to think that atheism is a foundation of some sort, sort of like how a religious belief system would serve as a cultural foundation for a believer. He seems to be thinking that atheism holds a similar role, where it's like a foundation upon which the rest of your life is built. But it is definitely not the case with atheism. Atheism is not a religion. It's not a belief system. It's just like if a Christian doesn't position a disbelief in Zeus as a foundation of any kind upon which to build anything. It's just something they don't believe, they don't believe in Zeus. And it doesn't impact their day-to-day activities in any way, shape, or form. And similarly, atheism doesn't impact my life in any meaningful way. It's not foundational. It's just something that I just don't believe in God. And I don't believe in, as I mentioned last week, I don't believe in Poseidon or the flying spaghetti monster. Well, he might be real, but I don't believe in the Easter Bunny, Cthulhu, insert name of your deity here. I just don't believe in it. And it doesn't come across my mind at all, except for when I'm doing episodes like this, where I have this question right in front of me. So going back to his original question, have you had any experience in life that caused you to question your atheism? Well, yeah, there's always crazy things that happen that defy explanation, but I don't know if it shakes. How does he phrase it? Question my atheism. Like, for example, if something seems like supernatural or paranormal and there's no explanation for it, no apparent explanation for it, that doesn't mean that there isn't a naturalistic explanation for it, or it doesn't mean that my senses aren't fooling me. It just means that at the moment I can't think of an explanation, and it doesn't make me question atheism. I guess I should phrase this: have I had any godly experiences in life that caused me to question my atheism? And there's also a lot of things like completely random coincidences that leave you scratching your head. But obviously, human beings are pattern seeking animals. And so anything that seems coincidental, we're quick to assign value to it and a reason for it happening. And I did talk about that in another episode a while back, a few weeks ago, I think. But yeah, so if I come to some kind of bizarre conclusion in my mind that, you know, wow, there must be some deity watching over me or whatever. That's just me being human, you know. I don't fault anybody for that. You know, it's very human to draw conclusions and make connections between different unrelated events. It's our way of trying to take the randomness out of life and the chaos out of life. So yeah, I guess maybe that answers the question. I've had all kinds of experiences, but um, they're easily explained by just our human propensity for pattern seeking. So let's move on to question number 6. Let's see. Are you completely materialistic in your mindset? Meaning, human beings are entirely physical, human consciousness is an illusion, and there is no spiritual realm of any kind? Or are you superstitious, reading horoscopes or engaging in new age practices or the like? Yeah, I'm materialistic. I don't know if consciousness is an illusion. I mean, I think consciousness is real, but it's a emergent property of having an extremely high amount of neural connections. I guess you could call it an illusion. I mean, you can't point to an object and say, "Oh, that's the consciousness." It's just, as I mentioned, an emergent phenomenon. Um, yeah, human beings are entirely physical, meaning there's no, I don't think there's a soul or any spiritual stuff like that. I'm not superstitious. I don't think horoscopes and New Age is anything but nonsense. Um, yeah, I'm not superstitious. So yeah, this one's a fairly straightforward question to answer, but it makes me wonder why he's asking this question. I think if I were to guess, having been a Christian before, if I were to ask an atheist a question like this, I would try to find out if they have any kind of spiritual beliefs whatsoever, you know, like New Age or anything, like if they practice meditation or do tarot cards or anything, because that would be a shoe in the door to start to introduce more biblical concepts and things like that. So, but yeah, I don't know how to approach that. But anyway, we're going to get on to the last question here, question number 7. If you were convinced that God truly existed, meaning the God of the Bible, who is perfect in every way, full of justice and mercy, our Creator and our Redeemer, what would that be good news or bad news? And would you be willing to follow him and honor him if he were truly God? Yeah, I back when I was a Christian, and when I first started realizing that Christianity was just another man-made thing, I was pretty disappointed because I really wanted this particular God to be real. I was living as if he was real, and I think it would be awesome. However, as in retrospect, as an atheist, I if God is how he is described in the Bible, he is definitely not merciful. He's not full of justice. He's not definitely not perfect. Um, so that would be confusing to me. If someone's told me like, "Hey, we figured out that God's real," I'd be like, "Okay, so describe this God to me. If he's like he is in the Bible, because he's got multiple personalities in the Bible, and he gets away with stuff that he tells us not to get away with. So there's definitely a double standard. He behaves in ways that he tells us not to behave in. So yeah, there's clearly a double standard in there, and I'd be curious to find out more about the actual nature of God because I don't think the Bible describes him the way he really would be if he was real, because that would be kind of scary. So that's my answer to that question. I would want to, if there was a God who's real, I'd be like, okay, well, and if he did, and if he cares about humans and has a plan for each of our lives, I think that'd be fantastic. I would want to find out more about that. Um, so this author, I forget his name again, Michael Brown, he concludes, I understand that no two atheists are identical any more than any two believers are identical, and that everyone has their own unique story. I also understand that some of you who are believers today were once atheists, and that others who were once believers are atheists today. Whatever your own story might be, I'd love to hear your answers to these questions, even if you choose to answer only a few of these 7 questions. And if there's no way to leave comments where you're reading this article, feel free to send your responses. Oh, he's got an email. Look at that. I'll send him a link to this video. Info at Ask Dr. Brown. Oh, he's a doctor. Oh, he's probably like an honorary doctor. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for your time and interest. All right. So this article, I think, was from a couple years ago, so it's not exactly new. So he's, I don't know what he's going to do with his information. He's probably, if my guess is he might be compiling it into a book, and maybe he's going to respond to the different claims, and he's going to use the book for apologetics purposes, sell it to different churches or congregations, or in, what was that bookstore I used to go to all the time, in Lake Forest? It was Sunshine Christian Bookstore, something like that. I used to love going there and get all the different concordances and topical Bibles and Bible dictionaries. There's so many study aids to help you kind of dig into the scriptures and learn about the history of everything and God's character and stuff like that. I always thought that stuff was fun, and I got into that. I had quite a library of study aids. So, yeah, maybe he's going to write a book and sell it there at Sunshine or any other of the millions of Christian bookstores around the world or online. So, yeah, I don't know. I answered his questions. This will be a shorter episode, I guess. Next week, there's a couple different new discoveries in genetics and in the language center of our brain. So I'm probably going to do an episode on those topics, because those kind of interest me more than these kind of atheistic topics. I noticed that on YouTube, all the atheist channels, all they do is kind of rebut people who are making wild religious claims, and it seems to get old after a while. I think there's better ways to use time than to constantly pick on Christians for believing the silly things that they believe and picking apart their syllogisms and their attempts at logic. They try hard, but I mentioned in an earlier episode, like, I don't think Christians should be engaged in apologetics, because you're basically just learning how to lie in a clever way. And I don't think lying should be a part of Christianity. I think the power of Christianity should come from relationships and from shared experiences, and you shouldn't try to convert somebody using logic, because eventually, if someone's logic driven, they're going to find out the truth and they're going to turn away, like what I did. So you want to appeal to them more on an emotional level. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And I will leave it there. I'm Charlotte. You are watching The Ugly Atheist. If you like this kind of content, which I know you do, judging by all the less than 10 likes and views I get, being facetious, of course, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.